Speaking of special, that's a word you have used to describe Nico's talent, his ability at quarterback. And last week, after you saw his performance a week ago in the Citrus Bowl, you offered the reminder. Special talent, got to protect him. You need an offensive line that's in front of him that is probably better than what we've seen in the last 12 months. Gerald Mincey is now in the transfer portal, so he has to be replaced after the initial thought was that he would return for another season. There are some offensive linemen that we talked about on Friday's show that Tennessee is pursuing, and right now it appears Tennessee is behind or out with those races. Reed Adams, the Kansas offensive lineman, appears headed to Texas A&M. A couple of other tackles would be considered leans elsewhere right now. What do you make out of the last 48 to 72 hours with Tennessee pursuing offensive linemen for immediate help through the transfer portal?
Reed Adams, I think it's important to mention. He's from DeSoto High School there in DeSoto, Texas, which is right outside Dallas. College Station, Texas A&M, where he's going, about a 2.5-hour drive for him. So I do understand that part of it. When you look at Tennessee right now needing offensive linemen, essentially who you bring in is going to be a starter for you. So you're selling that. You have an NIL that I know for a fact is well-funded, organized, and some of the packages that you hear being offered to some of these players in the portal will leave you scratching your head why we haven't been able to get linemen from the portal. You have a better collective than Ole Miss. You have, I think, a fan base that is more powerful. You have an atmosphere in Neyland Stadium, unrivaled. You never really hear Josh Heupel begging people to come to the game and stay at the games. We've heard Lane Kiffin have to do that. So you look at the collectives and you say, well, if the collectives is better at Tennessee, what is it? Well, it only points to one thing, and that is the individuals on the staff ability or inability to close. One that can't is no better than one that can and won't. So if you got some dudes on the staff that can't close, or you have some dudes on the staff that can close but don't want to, it's really the same. You're not getting results. It is still January the 8th. There's still time to get players from the portal, but the guys who are in there, I mean, you got a former 5-star with 3 years left. I don't know if there's going to be another situation that's going to be as great as this one. Opportunity for Tennessee to address that need this year and for the future.
That player being Lance Hurd from LSU.
Correct. You got to make something shake if you're Josh Heupel. Like, you are in this position because we have struck out, whether it was eval or development. And I don't want to hear anything about Darnell Wright. You can use Darnell Wright to recruit. Don't get me wrong. He's a first-round player. He started every game for the Chicago Bears. Was awesome. You can use him. But it's not working right now for Tennessee in recruiting players from the portal. Tennessee has done a good job this recruiting class, bringing in 5 guys. But those 5 guys are not going to play for you as freshmen. Physically, there's no way that you can count on 5 freshmen. The need to address the portal at the offensive line position is because of some of the misses with the previous recruiting class. Because if you did not miss with the previous recruiting classes, those guys would have been ready to fill in this year. and last year, but they were not. Maybe the eval was off. Maybe they just didn't develop like you thought they were going to develop. Who knows? Who cares? Your responsibility is to have linemen. And you're sitting right here, right now, with a hole at left guard and a hole at right tackle and more questions in 2025. So this is the first time in the last 3 years that we're sitting around going, I know we can coach, but what about recruiting? The previous staff, we know we can recruit, but what about the coaching? This is the first time where people are like, oh my gosh, why can't we get them? Why can't we close? And it's not the collective. It is not the Vol Club. It is not Spire.
We had a question in the text box. Is Tennessee being competitive with the offers?
More than competitive.
Okay.
More than competitive. And Tennessee is not getting outbidded out here. Okay? And so know and understand that. Got to figure it out. Got to figure it out. It's really that simple.
In my opinion, from a personnel standpoint, Tennessee has to add at least
2. At least. And they have to be – they can't just be any 2.
Yeah.
They have to be 2 with more than 1 year, unless you plan on one of the 5 freshmen that we brought in this year to be ready to go as a full-time starter in their second year. Like
in 2025, you already know you have to replace Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, and John Campbell Jr. They're out of eligibility after 2024.
Josh, when you don't shave, it shows. When you don't recruit the offensive line position the way you're supposed to, it may not show today, but it's going to show up one day. Derek Dooley did not recruit a single offensive lineman in the class of 2012, and it showed up in the biggest way for Butch Jones. You can't neglect a position, or you can't miss on a position, because it's going to show up. May not show up now, but it's going to show up. And this is why it's showing up right now, because of some of the missteps that happened within the first 3 years recruiting the offensive line position. So you can fix it by getting into the portal and getting the right guy with the right amount of eligibility, but it is concerning when you have players go other places and taking less money, or taking the same amount of money, or going to a place where it's less prestigious. Like, hard questions have to be asked, and you got to find some hard answers, because you're entering year 4. You have Nico, and it won't matter unless you have the necessary pieces around him. So, yeah, like the Reed Adams miss, that stinks, but you can't lose on the other guys. You can't lose on Hurd. You can't do it.